Hey, good morning. This is Jerry over at Wealth Dynamics, coming to you live as usual. Just finished up my workout for the day, and I wanted to talk to you about why the top 1% use sacred accounts. Okay, and real quick, if you don't know, a sacred account is a sacred account. It's an account that we set up where you keep your saved income for the sole purpose of investing for cash flow. It is secured. It's guaranteed against loss. It is sacred. Okay, you only use it for cash flow. So yesterday I posted a infographic we created and had 5 people from the top 1% historically that have used sacred accounts as keys in developing their wealth. The first one I posted was Walt Disney, Teddy Roosevelt, Ray Kroc, J.C. Penney, Foster Farms. I mean, there's so many examples out there of people that literally, like, they're a globally recognized business, and it started because they had a sacred account, and that's what they used to start their business or their investments. So why do the top 1% use sacred accounts? Now, the reason why, and I'm going to break it down to you like this. There's 2 places you can give your money to outside of the sacred account, right? You can give your money to a bank, or you can give your money to Wall Street. Now, if you give your money to a bank, and this is why the top 1% don't like using banks. They like using sacred accounts. If you give all your money to a bank, here's what's going to happen. You're going to deposit your money with them. Okay, they're going to loan your money out. They don't keep it. They loan it out 10 times on the dollar, which means for every dollar you give them, they give that dollar to 10 other people simultaneously. Okay, simultaneously, for you to earn how much? 0.01%, right? That you earn absolutely nothing. So they loan your money out, and when they loan your money out, you don't make anything on it. Now, they loan your money out 10 times on the dollar, okay? And what happens is the bank makes all the money, you make none of the money, and then you end up having to get a loan from the bank anyways. Guess whose money you're borrowing? You're borrowing your own damn money. They're charging you interest to borrow your own money from them because banks don't start out with any original capital. Okay, it's all stuff they borrowed from somebody else, okay? So the wealthy don't use banks. They don't keep money in banks. That is a poor person or a middle class mentality. It's not something the wealthy have ever used. It's not something that, I mean, the wealthy have owned banks. So if you're gonna own a bank, that's different, but they've never used banks to just store cash, all right? Now, if you look at Wall Street, the other alternative. So what happens when you give your money to Wall Street? Let me pitch it to you like this. Tell me if you would do this deal with me, okay? So I'm like, hey man, I've got a great investment. I wanna see if you're interested in. Here are the rules. Number 1, I'm gonna borrow some money from you for this investment. And you're like, cool, Jerry, cool. I understand that, it makes sense. And I'm like, awesome. Now, the second rule though is you're gonna pay me to let me borrow your money. You'd be like, what? I'd be like, yeah, you're gonna pay me to let me borrow your money. For the privilege of allowing me to speculate with your money, I'm gonna charge you a fee. It's called a front end load. You would be like, all right, I don't know if I like that rule, right? Now, the second rule, I know you don't like that one. The second rule is this. I'm gonna go speculate with your money on Wall Street. Meaning I'm gonna find the second most dishonest group of people on the planet. I'm gonna give your money to them and let them speculate with it. Speculate does not mean invest. It means they're buying things and they're hoping it works. They're literally doing fingers crossed. Okay, I'm gonna do that with your money. Would you be cool with that? And you're like, no, that doesn't sound great. What are the guarantees? Oh, well, there are guarantees. There are guarantees. Let me tell you about my guarantees. The guarantee is every year I will charge you an annual fee. You would be like, what? That's the guarantee. I'm gonna charge you an annual fee every single year, whether I make you money or whether I lose you money, I will charge you a fee. Okay? On top of that, the stuff I'm buying is invisible, and if they go broke, you get nothing. You would not do that deal. So the wealthy don't even buy mutual funds and give their money to Wall Street. So where do they keep their money? They keep their money in trusts and in sacred accounts. The reason why, when you put your money in a sacred account, it is guaranteed against loss. It's going to make a 4% gross annual dividend every year, no matter what. On average, for over 150 years in a row, they've outperformed that, averaging about 6 to 8%. It grows tax-free. It's in what's called a unilateral contract, meaning nobody can control the contract but you, the policy holder. So that's why the wealthy use sacred accounts, guys. If you look back on history, like these businesses and great investors that started, they couldn't have gotten started because the banks didn't give them the money to. Most of them asked the bank for money and the bank said no. That's why they had to use their sacred account. Okay, and they can't use Wall Street. Like, Wall Street's not going to give them money. It's the other way around. You give Wall Street money. So I wanted to share that with you because so many times we get caught up in, you know, what we think that the right financial thing is to do, but we're not really measuring against the right group of people. We're measuring against our financial advisor's advice. Turns out he has student loans and he's struggling with his bills every 2 weeks just like you are, and he's just doing what the Wall Street people told him to do. He's not thinking on his own. He's thinking about what's going to get him paid and how did he get trained by those people? How can he follow instructions and do a good job and keep his job? That's what he's thinking about. Or you think about, you know, you compare your finances to those of your family and friends. Realize if they're not wealthy, you really shouldn't be copying their financial habits. You really shouldn't be listening to their financial advice. They might be great parents or siblings or friends, but if they're not wealthy, they are a terrible source of financial information. Terrible. Okay, so where do we get our advice from? You get your advice from the top 1%. Now you're like, Jerry, I don't know a top 1%er. You don't need to. Guys, they write books. You can look at statistics and graphs and charts that show you exactly what they've done, and you'll see consistently over and over and over, dude, they used sacred accounts. Like, how many times have you been to McDonald's? Okay, did you know McDonald's would not have existed if Ray Kroc didn't have a sacred account? He used literally a sacred account, a whole life policy to fund McDonald's. Okay, how about JCPenney? My office is right across the street from JCPenney. Did you know in 1929, JCPenney almost shut down? They almost closed their doors because of the stock market crash. And the only reason they could stay open is because James Cash Penney, the owner and founder, had a sacred account. He had a whole life policy that he used to fund the store, to pay payroll, and keep the doors open. Okay, what about Foster Farms? How many of you guys eat chicken? Foster Farms. Did you know that Foster Farms bought one of their first farms, is an 80-acre farm, by using their sacred account? They borrowed against a whole life policy to purchase the land they needed to start the farm. So guys, I could go on and on and on and on with this, but the thing is, you gotta look at who am I taking my advice from? Who am I taking my advice from? Am I taking my advice from my broke financial advisor, from my colleagues, from my middle-class family members? And there's nothing wrong with any of those people. What I'm pointing out is the condition of their finances is not what you wish to idealize or mimic, and therefore you cannot take financial advice from them. Whereas you look at a guy like Ray Kroc, you look at a guy like JCPenney, you look at a family like the Foster family, you can look at them and their finances and be like, hey, I don't know these people, but I know that they're financially wealthy and I would like to emulate that. I wonder what they did, and I'm telling you guys, this is what they did. This is exactly what they did. So if you're watching this really quick and you've been tiptoeing around the sacred account, thinking about it, maybe you just heard about it and you didn't even know it was a thing, I want to make you an offer, okay? So if you're watching this and you're interested in a sacred account, there's a couple of things you need to know. A, it's not just like a bank account where you give it to somebody and let them take care of it. You do need to understand how it works first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link in the comments really quick called sacredaccount.com, and this link is going to take you to a page that's full of information. Okay, and you can look on that page. Now the second thing, if you're not interested at that point, don't worry about it. You don't have to buy one. But if you are interested, you cannot set up a sacred account without an agent. It's not one of those things you can go buy online by yourself. If there's not an agent involved in the transaction, you can't get one. Okay, I'm an agent. So if you've been thinking about it and you're like, hey, I would like one, I'm interested, I would like to check this out, I'm your agent. So go to the site, submit your information. I'll get on a call with you personally. I'll answer your questions, give you information. I'll have some questions for you too to make sure this is a good idea for you. And from there, if you would like to set one up, we can, okay? So again, sacredaccount.com, sacredaccount.com. One more time, that is sacredaccount.com. Thank you for watching. Make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon.